Whoa, whoa, hey, we're not done with it yet. Keep going, you're good. Hold on, you'll get to the field soon enough.
You made me stop right in the mud puddle.
I did, actually.
What? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, put the cannon down.
No.
We are not putting the cannon on the combine.
But Nick, I mean, it's a cannon. We
A
got
bowling ball cannon.
Yeah.
That is not our combine.
But think about it, Nick. We could totally blow the competition away. Who does that? We could do that, Nick. Like, think about it.
No,
Yes.
no.
You're such a
No.
buzz killer.
No, put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Introducing the all-new Case IH AF11. This is a Class 10 Plus combine, built from the ground up. Not much similar to the other ones. It's its own thing. Let's take a look at it. This thing is huge. It's big. It's really big. But it's actually not as big as you would think. And here's the reason for that. So this is a Class 10 Plus. In other words, there isn't really a Class 4 yet. They're so big now, they haven't even set the standards for what this class would be. We run Class 8s. The 9260 was a Class 9. This is a 10 Plus. In other words, it's in the unknown area, but it is big. But here's the thing, like I was saying, it's not that big in that there are limitations to how big they can make these. Everyone asks, how big is equipment going to get? Well, there's limitations. Not the fields. We've got the space to make big equipment. They can make as big as they want out here. The problem is how do you get it to the farms? You got roads. Got width, you've got height. Bridges are only so tall and roads are only so wide. So what they have to do, which is an engineering marvel, is make these things monsters without really making the real estate that much bigger. And it's unbelievable, the difference. Somehow those guys have managed to pack 2 massive rotors inside this beast. And it is a threshing machine. It is unbelievable what it takes. We can't grow a crop on this farm to even push this thing, but we're gonna try. We got things up our sleeves, we'll try. So before we get this beast harvesting, let's take a minute, let's walk around. I wanna show you guys what's been changed on this and how they managed to get this thing to where it's at. It's unreal. So on a combine this big, let's start at the power plant on the back. Unlike your typical flagship combines, the ladder comes down the back, they've now moved it to the side right here. So you have a little lever you pull, swing the door back, grab the ladder, and just give it a little pull. Comes down, and climb up. Let's open some covers up. Under the hood, we've got a 16-liter FPT that can run up to 775 horsepower. 775 horsepower right here. Now, if you notice, something major has changed compared to the other generations. Clearly, there's a lot different here, but the big thing is, look at the orientation of this engine. You notice this? In line with the combine. No longer is your radiators and your fan in the front of your engine right here and the back of your engine right there. And it's like this. They've turned it 90 degrees and now it faces down to the whole combine. So all the power is being driven directly down. I'll show you how it comes out here. So this right here, massive amount of stuff, is your power takeoff. And it's attached to the rear of the engine. That's the back of the engine right there. Front of the engine's up there with fans. Those we'll get to in a second. The power comes out, the rotational power, to this power takeoff. And here, I'm sure there's a bearing right there where that cover is. They've got big gears that then drive all these different components. And all these components have the very unique purposes. Let's start on the right side over here. This one is a CVT. No longer is your drive shaft running down the driver's side of the combine to feed your feeder house, to provide power to it. Now it's down the passenger side of the combine, which goes down there and feeds that beautiful 50-foot MacDon FD250 header. So this power is now delivered there. Then you can adjust your speed by this CVT here. Hydraulic pump there. Then right here is your hydrostatic pump. They're always the big one because it takes a lot of oil to move a combine. Down here though is another CVT. And this CVT, if I'm correct, if you look right over here, there's a drive shaft coming out in the middle, right down the center. That is what runs your rotors. So that CVT lets you increase and decrease the speed like that to your 2 twin rotors, which are all right here, buried underneath this. Now, here's something about that. That's what makes this so great. This is the first, to my knowledge, combine that can run twin rotors with a CVT system. Prior to this, everything uses belts. And belts are great, but they have limitations. One, they can't go backwards. This, you can just press a button and bam, your rotors spin the other way. So if you slug it, easily unplug it. Belts, good luck. You have to get a bar on it or something. And you have to worry about blowing belts on this too. No belts ripping apart. Nope, just oil. Just keep it all clean, keep it all fresh, take care of it, and it'll just keep going. Got another pump over here. Here's your hydraulic tank. I'm sure there's more to it than just this. They probably use oil from other systems. Here's got some mission systems here with your DEF. That massive tank there is your exhaust. Huge flapper on that. Look at the size of that exhaust port. Isn't that amazing? On the right side of the combine, you have easy access to your fuel tank. There's a 396-gallon diesel fuel tank right underneath here. Significantly bigger than the previous generations. There's a lot of fuel right there. With the engine orientation changed like it was, you'll notice on the side of the combine, no more fan that spins over here. The air cleaner, the screen that blocks all the junk from getting into your cooling systems. Instead, they put it in the front here, right between your grain hopper and the power plant. And there's 3 fans that are driven here. These are all belt driven, 1, 2, 3. And these are pumping a massive amount of air out the top of the combine. So no longer is the chaff swirling in the wind on the side of your combine and getting stuck in that drum on the side. You've got pretty clean air up here. And all of them are easily accessible, which is pretty amazing. You gotta get to the engine, you can just take those couple hinges off, shock absorber or strut, pull that hood off, and you've got full access if you gotta do some major repairs. And while we're up here, let's talk about that thing. 567 bushels capacity, 567. I was thinking about the other day, the grain truck I learned to drive in when I was a kid was like 380 bushels. And the biggest grain truck we had growing up, which I did finally get to drive, was just under 600 bushels. It was like 575. So this combine holds as much as one of the trucks we drove, our biggest truck on the farm growing up. 2 dumps of this combine fills one of our grain trailers, a 42-foot Demco grain trailer. Plumb full, 2 dumps of this combine. Unreal. And you'll see in the videos, this thing opens crazy fast and closes crazy fast. And it is tight. You watch it come together. I'll try to get it recorded here. These things lay in like a sandwich, really close together. I'm amazed that it does it as well as it does, but massive hopper. And with 567 bushels sitting back there, you got to get that off the combine quick. That's where this beast is. This is their new unloading system. 6 bushels a second. Huge tube, huge flighting. It is long too. It's ready for a massive header. Isn't that amazing? Still apps and beefed up, and it moves a lot of grain. So you got to be careful. When you're loading a truck, it doesn't take long. It's like an auger wagon. You'll have grain flowing on the ground quick if you're not paying attention. So now that we got the power plant taken care of, as well as the grain hopper and the unloading system, let's take a look at the inside of this thing. Let's open some panels up. So you've got a step right here you can unlock. Just lift this tab up, folds down. Then right here, got a little tab. Pull this, give it a good yank. Opens up. And there is that gargantuan. Like I said, they packed a lot of stuff in not a lot of space. It's unbelievable how big this is. This is your clean grain elevator. This takes all the grain after it has been cleaned or threshed and cleaned. And all the chaff taken out, drops down, comes along a horizontal auger, hits this clean grain elevator chain. It's a chain with a bunch of bats on it. And that takes it up into your hopper. So let's climb up here and take a look. Now the flagship combines, they were a little different on how they balance the sieves. So you've got sieves, they're inside here, we'll take a look at them. And that's where the air blows through and the grain kernels fall down. But the problem is if you're on a side hill and you're tipped sideways, the grain will want to slide to one side, which overloads that side, and you get grain that's kicked out the back and lost. And the other side is underloaded and it's not performing like it should. It's probably got air blasting and blowing grain out. So the older generation, the sieve actually would oscillate back and forth, stay level with the ground, use gravity to maintain level. I think it was 15 degrees either way. I could be way off on that. Maybe it's not 15. It's probably quite a bit less than that. This is the Crossflow Plus. So this is different. It's pretty amazing. They've had it in different generations. They've installed on this one. They've determined that it's the way to go. And what it does is instead of the sieve, which normally goes back and forth like this, as it shakes the grain, that's just been for generations, for decades. That's how combines have always ran. it now oscillates it left to right. So it can do like a rotation, a circle. So depending on where it needs the grain to go in the combine, it just changes the angle of this, and it'll start doing a rotation like this with the sieve, and that'll throw the grain one way or the other. So if you're on a hill, it can actually throw it and go and pile the grain up the other way. And I guess it works awesome. I mean, clearly they put it on this big dog, so it's kind of weird. It's amazing. It's hard to think about how that works, but it's actually a pretty simple concept, and it allows for a lot of cleaning area. This might be part of your fuel tank. I think it is. It feels cold. This is a fan that sucks air out of your cleaning system up there. So there's the way they have it set up, the large materials that do make in will spiral or whatever, and they'll drop down and get sucked into this and blown out onto the ground. So that way that material isn't getting stuck into your radiator coolers, all that hydraulic coolers. The important stuff that you don't want getting hot keeps it clean. So that's what that unit is. These white covers, kind of like the old combines. Easy access inside, 2 tabs, pull the cover out, look inside. We'll go in a minute. You see this right here? That's that drive shaft that now runs down the pasture side of the combine, which feeds the feeder house. See how they tucked it up there? No longer does it go straight across your access to pull concaves in and out. It goes up and over like that. That's pretty nice. That's out of the way. That one powers your clean grain elevator. Those are your unloading systems. So those are the cross augers that go in your hopper. That takes the grain to the vertical auger, which then takes it to the horizontal unloading auger. So those belts, that's what that runs. Up here, this is where the power comes in off that drive shaft from the CVT. Comes down here. I believe there's some belts that run down and power. Well, anyways, drive shaft actually comes all the way down. Powers this unit here, which has a drive shaft through the other side, and I'll get there in a second. But it's pretty cool how this is all set up. All right, let's take a look quick down here. So this is the massive rear axle. Actually, there's a camera right here. Clean that off. This axle's huge. It's a powered axle. This thing has powered rear wheels. So you basically have, in essence, 4-wheel drive. It's an assist axle, so they're not linked together mechanically, but it's hydrostatically driven. And I believe it has the ability to unlock and lock differential inside here. Now if we take a peek inside, here is your cleaning area. See that right there? Look how massive those sieves are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe there's 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. Up top, we've got a straw beater, not a chopper. The beater right there, so a lot of the older combines run had just beaters, they didn't have choppers. The chopping will take place in the back, and I'll show that in a minute, but the 2 rotors, the twin rotors, end right before that that beater there, and then the beater takes the rest of that residue and beats it and throws it up into over here where it catches, and this is where the residue handling takes place. So there's a chopper up in here. You can see these knives, you can adjust. The knives are actually inside, but the teeth. And so here's the bearing right there. That spins and chops all that residue into fine residue. And then your spreading system is right here. This is your windrowing. So if you're not spreading your residue, if you want to pile it and bale it, make some bales for some animals, some livestock. We don't get enough residue to really do that, so we leave it on the ground. Just like other combines, you can press a button and then it comes piling over the top here instead of spreading everywhere. Chopper's driven from the belt right here, goes into this box and then into there. That is a good sound. I love struts that work really nice. All right, so we've got kind of like a little toolbox cubby hole here to put some parts, whatever you need, you can put them in there. Ah, man, look at those hoses. So these are the hydrostatic drive lines running off that big pump at the top. Run down the side down to the transmission. There's a drive motor on the transmission there, and that drives to the transmission. The transmission takes all that rotational energy and ups it or downs it into speed. I think it reduces it to have torque that then goes to your planetaries, which are on your axles out there. Down here is our rethresher. If you remember on the flagships, there was 2 paddles that would paddle the grain that hasn't been fully cleaned and threshed back up again, up into your top sieve. Well, now it has 1 paddle, and it runs up this auger and then blows up and dumps it into the top of your sieve over here. Here's your air cleaner for that massive 775 horsepower 16-liter engine. It comes off the top by your radiators up there, all that system that's already been sort of filtered because it has those screens that are on top that have bats that clean the straw stuff going there. Still some materials in there, so it drops in here, it spirals. There's a vacuum on this line, takes it, pulls the heavy materials off, drops it on the ground. Before, hopefully, it enters your air cleaner. I guess it works awesome because they say we rarely ever do clean this thing. So you just watch the screen, it'll tell you when it's ready to be cleaned, but you can check it along. Probably not a bad idea to do too. Massive cleaner. You can get to it from on the ground instead of climbing on top of the combine. Once the air is clean, goes back out the back of that tube up into your engine where it gets boosted and put back into a cylinder with lots of fuel. These belts drive your unloading system. Got a belt over there, gearbox, that's for the vertical auger to your unloading auger up there. Let's open a cover and let's look inside. So this is rotor. I think it's rotor number 1. I don't know if they go number 1 or number 2. I'm sure they probably do. I'm still new to this twin rotor system. We've been single rotors forever. Let's take a look underneath. See what the underside looks like under here. So you can see that both rotors, those massive sieves. You've got a lot of modules in here. A lot of them. Call them concaves too. Concaves. Whole bunch of them stacked all the way down. They're all changeable. If you look across here, see how long this is? These rotors are long. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 concaves. Clearly the ones in the front are the ones that are going to change a lot because those ones take the abuse. That's where the threshing takes place, is right here. The rest of this is just separation and getting product up and out. And there's 2 of them. So there's 18 concaves on this thing. But you don't change them all very often. These ones back here probably rarely get changed. They probably stay on there for a long time. The fan, which is the bearings right there on that side, looks like your speed indicator for your fan, is right here. And it's big and it pumps a lot of air. A lot of air, because it's got to. For how big of sieves those are, there's going to be a lot of air for all that material. It's going to be slamming down on top of there and needing to float and separate all of that grain kernels. They fall down inside and trickle out, and all the light stuff blows out the back and gets chopped and flung out the side. Ladder's different. Easier to take apart for when you're taking this thing on a truck. You got to take the duals off, a couple bolts, swings around, bam, out of your way. You don't have to take off an entire assembly and put it on the trailer. Still can swivel this part here, which is nice. So if you just need to pull the side ladder in, not hard to do. Got a tank here to wash your hands. Can fill it up with water. Soap dispenser. Rinse your hands. That's nice. Fire extinguisher, one on the top of the back by the engine, one in the front down here. And this is another big addition to this combine. Let's talk about this. This is called the SFS, Synchronized Feed System. So, this is pretty cool. Now that drive shaft over there, that feeds your header. It just comes out over here, powers the header, and beater. Actually, there's not even a beater. It's a crop flow divider that divides the flow to both rotors, actually acts as your beater. But anyways, is driven by this unit. And the reason is, they wanted to be able to match the speed and your flow divider beater to your rotors. Now, you can vary your crops. You're not pulverizing the crop here, or if you're in some really heavy crop, you can speed this thing up to match the rotors in the back. It was kind of a choke point, and they've improved it. And how it works is power is actually driven down your left, I'll say rotor number 1, rotor. So that rotor right there, there's 2 of them, is actually like a drive shaft. The rotational energy that comes down there goes to a gearbox here, which then goes over into this unit, the SFS, I believe. It's a belt behind this cover, and there's 2 different actuators that'll put tension on the belt in different ways depending on if you're in forward or reverse. Pretty cool. Definitely not as simple as the old one, but the concept behind it makes a lot of sense. You're taking the speed and matching it across the board, and I think, from my understanding, it's supposed to just make things run a lot smoother. This is under the feeder house. I got new locks for your feeder house cylinders, so when you raise this up to get underneath the header, pull a lever, locks these in. That way, you're safe. Header's not coming down on top of you. The rock trap is right here, and it is actually ran from inside the cab. There's a cylinder over there. So you press a button in the cab, bloop, dumps it on the ground, lifts it back up. You don't have to get out. Don't have to be blowing all over your face like it does to me every time. Transmission's tucked under there with the planetaries and output shaft on the sides over here. With tracks fully loaded with fuel at 64,000 pounds roughly, it's amazing to me that those axle shafts take that. It is crazy. That's a lot of weight, because you sit there, you know what it's like. You've got this header, you've got that combine, you're pushing 70,000 pounds, have to be with the header on there. And you're going, you hit a bump, and forces, the engineering's amazing. It's all numbers. They know the tolerances of metal, just make it bigger, and it works. Again, this is the 50-foot Mac on FD250. We ran this on the 260. That's why it's got green on it still. It's now going on the 11, which is a good pair, and you'll see. See how that massive hopper hangs over top of the cab now? Get used to that. Got to get those bushels somewhere. Let's open it up. Now this cab, very similar, very similar to that 260. Updated seat, beautiful storage, lots of storage, really deep storage down here, good visibility of your tank inside here. Got your dual 1200 monitors here. So now this is interesting. There's no longer a battery disconnect on the outside. Now, see this where you take your key, if it's sat for, I don't know, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the timer is, hold to the left first. That just engaged the power disconnect. It's a big relay. Kick it on. Now we have power. Crank her over. There's the 1200s. I turned it on because I want AC. It's hot here. Some of your buttons on your console here are a little different than the 260. Like I see the GPS, your road speed or road mode, all that's up down here, auger. That used to be up here on the 260. Now we've got your cab air, your AC controls, a lot of mirror controls, and window wipers up here, your radio. That has yet to have something in it. We've got visors that come down, blocking the bright sun on all sides of the cab. The 260 did not have the sides. It had the front one, did not have these sides. Steering all looks the same. You've got your pegs on the bottom there, put your feet on. Multifunction handle is, I think, identical, very similar, if not identical. Massive window wiper. Honestly, sitting in here, you wouldn't know you're in an AF11. You wouldn't know it. It feels same height, same cab, everything. It just feels like you climbed out of the 260 and climbed in here. Little different sounds, but almost identical feel. The 1200 display is a little different. Obviously, they've had to change the interface here for the twin rotors and the different systems. Look at all the different sieves we have, adjustments. Combine looks different there. We got full def, full fuel. We are ready to go, which begs the question, why are we in the field harvesting right now? Well, I wanted to get this out of the way for the guys that wanted to know the nuts and bolts of this combine. I scratched the surface, but I hope it was enough of a scratch that helped that itch that you had. So now you've got an idea of what this combine is. But yes, it's time to go combine some wheat, harvest some wheat, cut some wheat. We've got wheat to cut. Let's go get to it. Let's move. All right, we're off to the races. Here we go. AF11, officially combining some Welker wheat. How are we doing? It's running about 17 right now, 13.5 moisture, 18. So I've got her dialed in to go 10 miles an hour max. With the feed rate, it can probably do a little more. This header is remarkable. I don't know, these knives they got on here with the guards, I know they're all newer. This header doesn't have a lot of acres on it, but they just do such a good job at cutting a clean stubble. There's nothing hardly left out there. So I can go as fast as this header can take it off the ground and keep it in the combine. So we got our 10. I could probably push 11, we'll see. Right now we'll keep it at 10. To feed this combine, here's the thing, I gotta do 10 miles an hour in this crop because right here you can see I am just barely at the acceptable. Like I'm right, the green line is right in the middle, which means I am just now getting enough material into this combine to keep the sieves loaded and the rotors full. And we're running 20 bushels an acre in this, which this field's actually yielding a lot better than we thought. We're next to Interstate I-15 over here. Haven't had anybody slam on their brakes and park and take pictures yet, but it's bound to happen. I mean, it's the AF11. What do you think's going to happen? It's gigantic. So right now, the inside AC fan is running 10%, 20%. We have it at 20%. So the noise you should be hearing right now is the actual combine. Do you hear it? It's pretty quiet. I mean, considering what's going on inside this machine right now, going 10 miles an hour through this, just pile driving into this combine, it's quiet. There's just not much going on. I mean, it's in and out so fast. It's amazing. Driving this combine, really similar to a flagship. Oh, we're at 75% full. Cool. So we've got a hopper cam there, so I got a good idea what's going on. Running the combine with one hand here, so bear with me. Drop her back down. Another thing that was amazing, pretty remarkable the engineers were able to pull off is this AF11, even though it's basically 2 to 3 classes bigger than our 8230s, it has the same turning radius as them. They were able to get this thing to spin on a dime. So it handles, like I'm driving, our combines. It just has a lot nicer cab, and it's doing, well, as of right now, 44.1 acres per hour. So this thing's basically harvesting the combined amount of both our 8230s. So it's like having 4 combines in the field right now. So we're effectively doubling our productivity with this combine in the field. Brad needs to get in the truck because there's gonna be some grain moving. Can you imagine if this was a 50 bushel crop? Oh, it'd be unreal. So much grain moving. Got my camera set up a little better now so you can get a better, smoother view of the screen here. So again, over here on this side, this is my sieves, how loaded they are. Right now I'm perfect. You don't see the green mark is right in the very center. So that means the sieves are loaded exactly where they want to be with the conditions that we have right now. Here's my losses for my sieves. Right now they're looking pretty good. That's my tailings or rethresher. So right now there's like nothing being kicked back through that. That's good. Don't really want product going through that unless you have to. This is MOG, chaff, unthrashed kernels, stems, whatever, maybe grasshoppers. That's materials. So it takes pictures of the quality of the grain, or of the grain, and rates its quality. So right now, it is going to, there we go. So here's an image right now I just took. It looks like some MOG. So that's chaff. Don't see any broken grain in this shot. No broken grain in that one. So we're not breaking any grain, but a little bit of chaff getting through. So that's how that's set. This here is our unthrashed kernels, or broken grain, and it looks about the same probably as the other one. Now, if you look at my grain hopper up here, we're at 90%, so we're gonna have to dump after this. That means we've got a lot of bushels in this combine. If it's 567 bushel capacity, and we're at 90%, what is that, at least 500 bushels? That is crazy. Over here is our fuel level, def level, engine load. So we're at 77% engine load right now. This is your coolant temp, your engine water temp. Right now it's actually, I have yet to fully understand where's normal on that because I'm not used to this, but it seems to hover, at least the 9260 similar, a little bit above halfway right there, and it doesn't go much there, so it must be normal. That little gear here is actually more like a rotor. That's automation. A is for automation, so this thing's automatically in automation. The computer is adjusting this combine as we go. As you can see right here, this is highlighted blue, little arrow. That means I'm adjusting the fan right now. So it's speeding up or slowing down the fan right now because it thinks, now it's opening or closing these sieves, the upper and lower right here. It's closing and opening them. So it's constantly adjusting this depending on what's the quality the sensors are picking up. We're doing 46.1 acres an hour, almost 50 acres an hour. Oh, that's nuts. Cross-track error, that's your GPS. That's how well the combine's tracking in a straight line. These are just systems up here, like stop. If you get a code that pops up and says, hey, you need to stop your combine right now, something bad's happening, it'll be up here. Satellite right here, this will tell us what kind of GPS we have right now. Right now we have excellent 13.6 inch accuracy. So this thing's dialed down to 13.6 inches. That's pretty good for loss. Cell phone signal up here. This has the field ops in it, so it has a modem built in it, so it talks to cell towers, clock, and then all of your harvest, your combine settings can be done from up here. So, and you have all your run screens on the bottom down here, so I can switch between each screen, and you can see exactly what's going on. Right now we're averaging almost 800 bushels an hour. I know. Nothing for the corn guys, but for this wheat, you know, this is good for us this year. Not great, but it's better than what it's been. Here's the hours on this machine: 427 engine hours, 195 threshing hours. Pretty good. There's the cams right there again. Okay, we're 95% full. Let's take a look and see what 95% of 567 bushels looks like. Now, there's still some room. Oh yeah. Sample's really good. So, it looks like to me, when I see daylight right there, I'm not full yet. So that's a good indicator. Isn't that amazing? How much grain is sitting right here? Oh, it's nuts. I love it. And no grain on the cab yet. That's yet. All right, let's take this combine over the trucks and dump it. All right, we're done with this field. Let's move to the next. That didn't take long.